So make sure you can account for the quarterback runs, but also be able to rush the passer. And when you do rush the passer, Boog, and you can hit on this, you got to be very diligent and not getting pushed by and opening up those gaps for Marcus Mariota to escape through north and south.
Yeah, and we're mentioning Marcus Mariota a lot. To me, when you beat Oregon or you face Oregon, you try to beat them, it's not about Marcus Mariota. Let's just go back and look at Oregon traditionally when they've been beaten. They've been done and beaten because guys have physically manhandled them at the line of scrimmage. You must stop the Oregon running game. I understand Marcus Mariota. Sure. He's the Heisman Trophy winner. He's everybody's, gift from God or whatever. But you have to be able to control the line of scrimmage. You go back to when they played LSU. You go back to the times that Stanford has beaten them. Right. You look at when Auburn faced them a few years ago in the bowl game. They physically control the line of scrimmage. And when you do that, you can control the Oregon offense. It looked great today, but you can control them with a physical defense.
And I think the most important position on the field when you play the Oregon Ducks is defensive tackle. Mm-hmm. Because you have to two-gap the defense, two-gap the line. You can't be over-aggressive. You have to push the pocket from the interior. The defensive ends, they're important. They got to stay at home, sure. But the defensive tackle position, Boog, and I'm not just saying this because that's your position, is the most important on the field. And that really suits Alabama well. I mean, look at Alabama's defensive tackles. They're off the charts good, and they have a lot of depth. So,
your old coach would not like you talking about the next game before this one even kicks off.
We're just talking. We're talking how the matchup.
But I think it has raised. Alabama fans, I think, wanted FSU for obvious reasons, just like they wanted Ohio State. It's an easier matchup.
Well, you can say it's an easier matchup. But, Nick Saban always talk about the process.
It is right now after 59-20.
We always talk about the process. And the process right now for Alabama, they get everything in Kirby Smart. They've designed this defense to take on the Ohio State Buckeyes. If they are to win and go on to face the Oregon Ducks, I have no doubt whatsoever they'll design a defense that can contain Marcus Mariota. When's the last time Alabama gave up 59 or 60 points? I mean, it happens every now and then, but not
like the last time we were here. Auburn was on the way to 59.
No, but they didn't get there.
They were close.
They were close.
We will continue taking calls. I mean, one reminder: we had this little bit of an issue the last time we were here, as you've seen the coin toss. We are not the main channel. That's on ESPN. We are the analyst channel. So watching this, always interesting to see what happens. How important is it to win the toss? So, would you defend if you got it?
It's tough to say, Paul. I mean, if you're Urban Meyer, I think you want to get off to a lead. I think you want to get off to a good start. You want to put some points on the board early, just like we talked about, to give your team some confidence.
Booger, you talked about it. Ohio State's actually going to defer to the second half, so that means Alabama will start with the football. You talked about those first 7 minutes.
Amari
Cooper, first 7 minutes. And I agree with you on this. If I'm Ohio State, I'm receiving the ball.
Yes.
I am receiving the football. I want to get my offense off to a fast start. I'm not worried about my defense.
Yes.
I'm a lot more concerned about my offense getting going against what could be the most difficult challenge defensively they've had.
And on top of that, if Alabama scores, now Cordell Jones is behind, making his second start against Kirby Smart and Nick Saban. Yeah. He's behind the first time he steps on the field. Right. So this could be a key moment before the game ever starts.
Well, we'll see. Nick Saban looks pretty calm and collected. Why? Because he's been in this spot so many times in his career. Urban's been there more than anyone other than Nick Saban. So we're getting ready for kickoff. It seems like forever ago that this game was put on the board, and one is down. The second part of the most historical day, at least until a week from Monday night in college football history, is upon us. And that's what's so interesting, I think, guys, that tomorrow morning, all these other bowl games aren't going to matter. It's down to like the Super Bowl after the NFC and AFC championship. There are 2 left. Enjoy the game
Tennessee
tomorrow.
And Florida might feel different.
Yeah, I know. But my point is, in the real world, it's set.
But that's the way it's supposed to be, right? I mean, that's what the College Football Playoff Committee wanted. They wanted the semifinal day, and now once tonight is over, all we're going to think about is on January the 12th in Dallas. What's going to happen that day? That's all we're going to think about, and the build-up can begin. I mean, we're going to have 11 days to hype it up. I'm sure the callers on the Finebaum show, if Alabama makes it, they're going to be loud and boisterous as ever. We are going to have 11 days to break this down, and everybody's going to speculate.
So FSU outscored 41-7, 5 second-half turnovers, a brutal ending to Jameis Winston. They beat Auburn last year. Auburn loses today in overtime. Auburn finishes 8-5 after a national championship run, and we are finally here about kickoff. And as soon as we get going, we'll bring some calls in. But Greg will work over that telestrator and with Booger, and let's just watch the kickoff here for a moment. Christian Jones with a little problems there catching the ball.
I mean, it's just catching and take a knee, big fella. I mean, let's not just walk away from it there. But I'll tell you the first thing we're going to see, Paul, right off the bat, Joey Bosa, Michael Bennett, 2 All-American defensive linemen. We're going to find out early and often whether or not how good are they from the Big Ten. How good are these 2 Big Ten defensive linemen?
Well, we've heard a lot about Joey Bosa.
Yeah, some people compare him to J.J. Watt. Not sure I'm one of them, but
Lane
some people.
Lane Kiffin in the national semifinal a year ago. He was looking for work. He's found it. What do you expect first play, Greg?
I would expect running game. Alabama is going to try to establish the line of scrimmage. Now, this is a similar formation that they started against Tennessee with a little naked.
You are correct. McElroy 1 for 1 on the night.
That's technically a pass, but it's an extended handoff, I would assume. A good job. Let's get Amari Cooper going early is what Lane Kiffin's saying here. We need to find a way to get him the ball. They start in the tight split, which makes it very difficult to double team him. So we'll see if they continue with those tight splits and those change in formations.
Let's also see if Lane Kiffin gets more airtime than Nick Saban. I'm betting he does.
Yeah.
A little D. Milner sighting in the background there. I imagine there's a lot of former players on the sideline.
Oh, yeah. Cheaper than tickets.
Play action. A little run there.
There's Bosa showing up early. And that's a guy, 97, that you are going to have to keep an eye on. He's very capable. He's disruptive.
What do we know about Yeldon's physical condition, Greg? He has been hurt.
You see Derrick Henry getting the start, but he's going to have an impact. I mean, if your heart's beating, you're playing in this circumstance.
Very interesting right there. One-on-one. Doran Grant on Amari Cooper. I don't expect to see that much all night. One-on-one. I understand safety was over the top, but you don't expect to see those 2 guys on a single shot in the screen. That's an advantage to Alabama anytime they get one-on-one coverage.
I don't like that play call. On third in a manageable situation, run the football or give me something a little bit more than a fade down the left boundary. For Blake Sims' first pass, technically his second because of the jet sweep, That's a tough, low percentage pass. He is so much better when you get him into a rhythm with the short passing game.
And not a bad punt there by country's best punter.
And you look at it, Landon Collins. I mean, how many times do you see an All-American playing special teams? You just don't see that. And this guy's unselfish. He tackles. He's going to make a ton of money at the next level. And, man, he's a joy to watch.
The advantage obviously went to Urban there and made the right call, but what are you looking for as Cardell Jones we're welcoming him to our screen?
Well, I think you got a young quarterback. You want to get him comfortable as quick as possible. And Ohio State has to balance that between running the football and getting him comfortable. I look for him to throw, make some short, easy throws early on, get him settled down, and then once he's settled down, now you get the run game going with Ezekiel Elliott and see if this offensive line can come through.
I would expect a screen or some type of naked right here, something early.
There you go. Just establishing the run game. Nice, safe handoff. Now it's second and medium. Your entire playbook is open right now.
For the record, Oregon was a 3-and-out on its first possession, too.
You can see the
I love how you slide that in.
You can see the impact players there. Ezekiel Elliott, that's the guy that you have to be aware of. He's a burner. He's fast.
Wow. He dropped it there. Almost a great catch right there. But you can already see, though, from an offensive standpoint, if you see what Urban Meyer did just now, he doesn't want his quarterback sitting in the pocket. So a little half roll, get him on the edge. He has 2 reads, either or reads right there. And if it's not there, he can always take off and run. That's when you have a young quarterback. You get him on the edge, make him feel comfortable, because we know Cardell Jones is not a pocket passer right now.
That ball clearly hits the ground, but you see them getting out of the pocket. Not necessarily a high percentage throw, because they took away the easy passes. That's what Alabama's defense will be trying to do all night.
This tackle right there. He's a big boy now. He's 6'5" and 240. You're not going to be able to arm tackle this guy. You're going to have to bring him down with some force.
And you can see the stunting up front by Alabama, something they're going to be trying to do because they don't want to be blitzing Cardale Jones too much because of that reason right there. He can run with it.
And speaking of Cardale Jones, I don't think that Nick Saban is concerned with Cardale Jones rushing like he would be a Nick Marshall, like he would be some of these other quarterbacks in the SEC. He's very, very content if Cardale Jones is going to take off all night. I think he wants him running, actually.
You should see this block on that run a second ago. An absolute tremor being thrown. If we want to take a look at the replay, I want you guys to take a peek at this. This is the right tackle. Right here. Watch this block that you're going to see him lay on Washington, the safety. That is called cleaning him out. Alabama's got to play physical. They have to be able to establish a line of scrimmage. That's not what you need.
I'm sure they're going to take a look at this. He's awful close to the sideline, but this missed tackles right now. That's the first thing I see right now from Alabama, their defense, which is very, very uncharacteristic. Missed tackles, especially in the secondary. There's one right there. There's two. There's three.
Booker, what's the explanation for that?
You know, Paul, they've had a long layoff. Now, I don't care how long you practice, and you can have tackling drills, you can go back and forth. There's nothing like actually playing football. And when you don't play football, you don't tackle. You can scrimmage and all that, but there's nothing like mimicking the intensity. And right now, the secondary of Alabama, there's 3 missed tackles in that long run. That's not going to make Nick Saban happy.
And this was the one guy that you cannot let beat you, Ezekiel Elliott. He's 6 foot, he's 225 pounds. And when he gets on the boundary and he gets and runs the sideline, runs on the perimeter, he can explode. He went for over 200 against Wisconsin. You have to limit his production. Obviously, not a good job so far starting out for Alabama. Legal formation there.
Yeah, you see, was that Urban sprinting down the sideline there?
Yeah, Evan Spencer was off the ball, and they were getting ready to bring the receiver in motion, and that would have resulted in a 5-yard penalty. And in the red zone, you do not want to sacrifice 5 yards. Good job by Urban Meyer tagging a timeout.
Let's grab a call here while we're watching this. Nick in Atlanta, go right ahead. Hey, Nick.
Hey, Paul, man, I love the show, guys. I just wanted to tell you that I think we're collectively jumping the gun a little bit on our concern for the national perception of the SEC. We can still go 8-4 and win the national championship.
That's true. But
that is dominant. And I just wanted to hear your thoughts
Nick,
on that.
I think your point is a good one. I think if Alabama, which hasn't looked all that impressive so far, can win this game, much of that will go by the wayside. But we know, because we work at a network with a lot of analysts who have their axes out for the SEC. And I think the advent of the SEC network has created goodwill in the SEC, but it's created a lot of ill will elsewhere because they think this is a launching pad for propaganda. You don't have to promote this league. It's good enough.
Yeah, I mean, without saying. I mean, when you've won 7 out of the last 8 national championships and your record on the field speaks for itself, you understand the perception, but you also understand the reality and why this league is what it is. And it's taken a little bit of a hit because the defenses has taken a little bit of a hit over the last couple of days. But there's no doubt the reason why people, as soon as they win, like Paul Johnson, come out and say, hey, we don't have to hear about the SEC, is because the SEC has been so good for so long.
Well, you always want to try to go after who's on top.
Yeah.
I mean, Alabama, Auburn, the SEC in general, Florida with their couple championships, 3 championships. I mean, it's an unbelievable league. I mean, you can say whatever you want. And yes, they have not played well, especially the SEC West, but right now, the SEC is 5-4 in bowl games. 5-4. They still have an over 500 record. That's fine. I understand that they have not played well. I get that. Well, a lot of us would have expected them to be 9-0 at this point.
I think even the Auburn game was not the critical one. I think it was the 2 Mississippis yesterday.
And
they were at the top of that.
Specifically Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Okay, because they had the #1 scoring defense, and we're known for defense in this conference, and they just got embarrassed. I mean, you had to give hats off to TCU. They played unbelievably. And then Mississippi State last night.
Yeah, and I think they were losing in a major